Hey everyone, I haven't done a Q&A in a while, so I figure I would do one really quick. Let's see. I've been getting tons and tons of questions lately, but I picked out a few that I think will help a lot of you. I'm gonna get started. First one, do you use a heart rate monitor watch? No, whenever I run, I'm not too concerned about my heart rate. But I do use a watch. I use the Garmin Forerunner. Honestly, any of the Garmin Forerunner products, I think they're all extremely accurate. They can get pretty pricey, but it's worth the investment if you plan on running for a long time and stuff. If you're just running here and there, I wouldn't really recommend buying one, but if you're going to start getting into racing and running 4 to 5 times a week or whatever, I'd recommend getting one. That way you can keep track of your pace, how far you're going, and all that. I never do a run without my watch. So I'm constantly charging it. As soon as I come home, I stick it right on the charger because I'm always using it. I wouldn't really recommend using like a basic pedometer, like one of those cheap ones, because they aren't very accurate. They don't take into consideration your stride or anything like that. Somebody asked me my opinion on the Nike Plus tracker. That's actually what I used to use when I first started getting into running. I might have used that for about a month and a half. It's fairly accurate. But I'm not gonna lie, whenever I used it, it actually said I was going faster than I really was. Because whenever I got my Garmin watch, I noticed that my pace and my time were increasing. So it wasn't by much, but it was enough to be noticeable. At first it was a little like, I don't know. It was a bit of a bummer when I was like, oh, I thought I was faster than that. But I mean, it's fairly accurate though. But so if you're a beginner, I'd recommend it. Because it's fairly cheap. So if you're not sure if running is going to be for you, then I'd recommend getting that. Next one. How did you get started running? Did you just take off on a long run or ease your way in? No. That's what you do not want to do. You don't want to just get up one day if you've never started running and just go on a long run of like 10 miles or more. That's just a good way to get injured. I used to, whenever I first started running or whatever, I used to only be able to run for like 10 minutes. And back then, I thought that was just fantastic. I mean, going from not being able to run at all to being able to run 10 minutes was an improvement for me. But just ease your way in. If you can't run for very long, maybe run for 5 minutes, then take a walk break. Set small goals, like if you're just starting to run outside, say like, I'm gonna run to that mailbox, or I'm gonna run to that pool. And then each time you go out, say I'm going to run to the next pool or the next mailbox or to that car up there. Just set small goals, and honestly with running you'll notice a change fairly quickly. That's the good thing about running. You'll notice changes very, very quick. I mean, it only took me a couple of months to get to the point where I am today, to get into the long run mode. My first long run was done because of how inspired I was by the Pittsburgh Marathon that I watched this past spring. Like, I went home and I just decided to go run 13.1 miles, which is equal to a half marathon. I didn't stop. I just kept going. For some reason, I found the power inside of me to run that distance when the longest I've ever ran was maybe 7 miles at the time. I was just so inspired, and ever since then, I've been throwing in a weekly long run into my training program, despite these past couple of weeks, which have been really rough for me and my family. But yeah, like I said, you know, if you're a beginner, I would ease your way in, because it's very easy to get injured if you do too much at once. Speaking of injuries, do you find that your compression sleeves help? Also, how often do you wear them? I wear them here and there. I mostly wear them after a very long run, 6 miles or more. These are actually the compression sleeves themselves. They look very tiny, but they are supposed to be very tight. This is the extra small. The brand is Zensa. I guess that's how you pronounce it. I don't know. They were $40, I believe, but they are very helpful. They're comfortable. They don't feel like, despite the fact that they're tight, they don't feel like they're going to cut off your circulation or anything. But what they do is that they increase the oxygen blood flow to the muscles of your lower legs, which can help improve your endurance and make you last longer in your runs. And they are a good recovery tool as well. After a long run, I'll use these and I'll like ice my knees or whatever, and I always remember to stretch and use my foam roller as well. I want more about injuries. I want to run, but my shins really hurt after a few minutes. Any helpful hints? I don't really know much about this particular person's stride or anything, or their heel strike, or their strike to begin with. But if you are landing on your heels, that is a big no-no, and that can lead to shin splints pretty quickly. If you're landing in front of you on your heel, basically like all the force from the ground is going to go straight up into your leg. And wherever your weak spots are, whether it be your shins, your knees, your IT band, or anything, all that force is going to go into that area, and it can cause a lot of injuries. So my best bet is that you just watch the way you're landing. For me, I land on my midfoot, and I try to land underneath of my body. I try to avoid landing in front of me. I mean, sometimes when I'm running faster, it's a little harder for me to control that, which is something I'm still working on. But for the most part, I land underneath of my body, and I try to land midfoot, and kind of making a rolling forward motion with my foot. But yeah, I mean, it takes practice to develop a good stride, good posture, and everything. So in order to get better, you just have to keep running. Okay, here's a good one. I'm new to running. Right now, I can only run 2 to 3 minutes, and then I have to walk for another 2 to 3 minutes before I can run again. Sometimes I think I'm doing something wrong when I see people running for 20 minutes without stopping. Will this improve? Well, if you're seeing people running for 20 minutes without stopping, chances are they've been running longer than you. Just ignore other people around you, because you're going to easily get discouraged. If you just keep practicing, like, okay, say you're running 2 to 3 minutes at a time. Next time, shoot for 4 minutes, and then next, shoot for 5 minutes. You'll find that it gets easier after time. Like, each time you go out, it's going to get a little bit easier. You may not notice it right away, but I promise you, if you just keep trying and keep pushing past your limits, it's going to get easier. And no, you're not cheating or anything if you take a walk break. I still have to take walk breaks in here and there. Like, if my legs are fatigued, if it's too hot, I don't care. I mean, I walk when I have to. I mean, your best bet is to listen to your body, because your body knows best. If you feel that something's wrong, stop. Because chances are something's wrong. if it's something that you've normally felt during a run, then maybe you could push past it. But if it's something different, that it's like, oh, this isn't good, then I'd advise you to stop. Because finishing one run through an injury, it's not worth not being able to run for weeks at a time because you made the injury worse by pushing through it. I mean, it may not be that bad right away, but maybe the next day you'll barely be able to walk. You just don't know. You want to be careful with that. Last but not least, here we go. I want to start out and say that you're a huge inspiration to me. Well, thank you. I'm wondering if once you reached 120 pounds, did your weight just level off? I want to gain muscle, and I also run a lot and am training for a half marathon. But I need to put on some weight. What would be the best way to do it? Yeah, my weight just sort of leveled off. Like I said, my weight dropped down to 106 pounds at one point because I just wasn't fueling my body properly. This was before I got into running. I noticed when I started running, the hungrier I got, the more I ate. Since I've been training for this half marathon, I've gained a total of 14 pounds, making me 120 pounds. It's mostly muscle. Like, I noticed, like, a lot of my jeans don't fit too well anymore because my leg muscles are growing. I don't know whether to be annoyed that I have to buy new pants or excited that I'm seeing muscle development in my legs. Basically, I think you're just going to gain, the more harder you train, the more weight you're going to gain. It's really common for runners to put on a little bit of weight whenever they're training for a half marathon, a marathon, or whatever. Especially because if you're running long distances, you're going to need to carb load the day before. Which, remember, if you're running like shorter distances, it's not really that crucial to carb load. This is mainly for people who are running long distance races and stuff like that. Because you're going to need a lot of glucose and stuff to energize your body during your run. If you eat too many carbs and you're only running short distances, those carbs are basically just going to sit in your body and they're going to be useless. So basically, I just keep doing what you're doing. If you're training, I think you're just going to eventually gain weight. I mean, I haven't really done anything special to gain weight except for running and eating more than I used to. I probably put on weight a little quicker because if you've seen my video, then you saw that I had a bit of a problem last summer with not eating enough. I wasn't even eating 1,000 calories per day, and plus I was exercising on top of that. So I'm lucky that I got out of that vicious cycle when I did, because who's to know where I'd be today. I just wasn't happy, but now I'm focused on fueling my body properly, being healthy, inspiring others. But that's all I have time for now. I hope some of these answers or whatever helped you all. But hopefully I will be back soon. So have a great day.